Tonight on the show, how India is responding to Turkey's betrayal. India is cutting ties with Turkey on security, aviation, education, tourism, and trade. What does this mean, and how will this impact diplomatic relations between the two nations? Good evening, you're watching TKC World, where we make sense of the global events with straight facts and sharp analysis. Also coming up on the show, Iran quote unquote ready to negotiate with the US on its nuclear program. We will decode the reason behind Iran's U-turn. Meanwhile, Russia-Ukraine officials meet for first direct talks in 3 years. But experts say there will be no positive outcome. We will tell you why. And finally, we will go to the United Kingdom where millionaires are fleeing London, but King Charles just got £30 million richer. All this is lined up. Let's get started. Imagine you helped your neighbor during a big flood. You gave them food, blankets, and even built part of their homes back. But the next day, when you needed help, or worse, when someone was throwing stones at you, your neighbors not only stayed silent, they cheered for the other side, or worse, even handed them the stones. That pretty much sums up India and Turkey relation at this point in time. You see, last year, India helped Turkey during a terrible earthquake. We launched something called Operation Dost, which literally, Operation Friendship. India sent rescue teams. We sent doctors and tons of aid to Turkey. They thanked us. All was well. But fast forward to May 2025. India carried out Operation Sindhur, a targeted mission to destroy terrorist bases in Pakistan after a deadly terror attack in Pahalgam. It was a national security move, and India expected at least silence, if not support, from countries it stood by. But Turkey did the exact opposite. Not only did Turkey criticize India's action, but it also openly supported Pakistan. Reports even suggest Turkey sent drones and operators to Pakistan, some of which may have been used against India during the confrontation. This was a red line crossed. So now India is cutting ties with Turkey across several big areas including security, aviation, education, tourism and trade. India cancelled security clearance for a Turkish company called Selbay Security Services, which was working at our major airports. The government cited quote unquote national security concerns and said thanks but no thanks. Let's talk about aviation. There is a big campaign to boycott Turkish Airlines. This airline connects India to over 350 places worldwide and made a lots and lots of money here in India. But after Turkey's support for Pakistan, many Indians are saying loud and clear, let's not fly with them anymore. What about education? What's on that front? Universities across India are cancelling partnerships with Turkish colleges. JNU, Jamia Millia Islamia, LPU and others said it loud and clear, we won't work with anyone who disrespects India's security. Even the Association of Indian Universities asked over 1100 colleges to suspend ties with Turkey. Let's talk about tourism. India and Indians are among the biggest contributors to Turkish tourism sector, Turkish tourism economy. Last year, we spent over 4,000 crores in Turkey and Azerbaijan on travel, hotel and weddings. But now, with hashtags like boycott Turkey trending, people are cancelling trips. Travel companies like Make My Trip, Ease My Trip are even advising against going there. On the trade front, from marbles in Rajasthan to apples in Pune, Indian traders are rejecting Turkish imports. Many are now buying from Himachal or Iran instead. They say, and I quote, it's not just business, they say, it's patriotism. Dear viewers, despite India standing by Turkey in their worst moments, when India faced a crisis, Turkey sided with the other team, that is Pakistan. That hurts. But more importantly, it reminds us of a deeper truth. In this world, you must be strong enough to stand on your own because in your hardest times, it is no one other's kindness but your own strength that will protect you. And that's the takeaway from this entire story, not just for nations or countries, but for all of us. Build your skills, build your resources, build your resilience. Because when push comes to shove, the only one guaranteed to stand by you is you. For years, Iran and the US have been like two angry kids, throwing sanctions, threats, and angry speeches at each other at every possible time. But now, something surprising is happening. Iran, a country that used to say we will never listen to the United States, is now saying let's talk. And the United States President Donald Trump, who once walked away from a nuclear deal with Iran, says a brand new deal might be very close. So, what changed between these two nations? Let's start with Iran. The country has been going through a really tough time. Its money is losing value, people don't have enough fuel or electricity, the economy of Iran is simply crumbling. And worst of all, there is a real fear that if things go wrong, bombs might start flying, especially with the US and Israel watching very closely. So Iran's leaders, including their very powerful supreme leader, are now saying maybe we can work something out as long as we don't give up everything. In simple words, they want a peace, but on their own terms. Trump, on the other hand, says he wants a peaceful deal too. He says there are two options: a nice, calm agreement or something quote unquote violent, which he clearly wants to avoid. According to him, Iran has sort of agreed to a deal. He hopes that this time, instead of making nuclear dust in Iran, they will make peace. But hold on, what's this deal even about? It's mostly about nuclear weapons. The US doesn't want Iran to build them. Iran says its nuclear work is a peaceful purpose. It's for peaceful purpose, like generating electricity, because people don't have electricity in Iran. But the world doesn't fully trust them. So the US has made an offer. Iran would have to stop making the dangerous kind of nuclear fuel, let inspectors check their nuclear sites, and agree to strict limits. In return, the US would remove the heavy sanctions on Iran, those rules that stop countries from trading with Iran and hurt its economy. Iran hasn't officially said yes, but people close to their supreme leader have hinted they are ready to accept some big changes, like giving up the powerful fuel they already have and even freezing some parts of their nuclear program. But only if the US keeps its end of the deal and lifts all the sanctions on Iran. Now, not everyone is happy with this. Israel, for example, wants a tougher approach. They want Iran to be treated like Libya was treated in 2003, when Libya gave up all its weapons program completely, nuclear program. Israel say don't just limit Iran's program, shut it down completely entirely. But Trump's team has said no to that demand of Netanyahu. They are looking for a balance, no nuclear bombs, but also no need for war. Iran has also drawn a red line. They say we will never give up our right to peaceful nuclear energy. That means they still want some part of the program to continue, like making fuel for power plants. So the question is, what happens next? If this deal goes through, it could mean more peace in the Middle East, lower oil prices, and maybe even better lives for ordinary citizens in Iran. But if this fails, the road could lead back to threats, sanctions, and worse. Trump says this isn't an offer that will last forever, and Iran is running out of time and also patience. So here we are, two long-time enemies, maybe, just maybe, ready to shake hands with each other instead of throwing punches. Let's see what happens. After years of war and destruction, both Ukraine and Russia are finally talking again, face to face in Istanbul, Turkey. This is the first direct talk between Russia and Ukraine in last 3 years. But there is a twist. As I said, there is always a twist. Neither President Vladimir Putin of Russia nor President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine showed up. They sent their teams instead. So who showed up? On Ukraine side, it was their defense minister who led the team in this negotiation round. On Russia's side, it was Putin's aide Vladimir Medinsky. Turkey's foreign minister Hakan Fidan is playing the role of referee, a mediator guiding this whole conversation. Reviews this is the first direct meeting between the two sides since March 2022, back when the war had just begun. So yes, this is a big moment, at least symbolically. But not everyone is impressed. Zelensky is frustrated instead. He is calling out Putin for not sending anyone who can actually make real decisions. What's the point? He's basically saying if you are not serious, and he might have a point in this whole thing. Russia is still holding strong to what they call the root causes of the conflict. Translation: Russia wants Ukraine to change its constitution, give up some land, and stay out of any military alliances. Basically, a lot. They're asking a lot. Now, here is where things get even more dramatic. US President Donald Trump also skipped the meeting, even though he hinted he might fly to Turkey. Trump says nothing's going to happen until I talk to Putin. Oddly enough, Trump is still defending Putin. He even said, "Why would Putin go if I am not going?" As if Putin was waiting for him to show up before talking peace seriously. Meanwhile, Trump's Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who is the one-man show, is already saying that they don't expect much from these talks. And German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, what is he saying? He's furious. He's threatening new sanctions on Russia, saying Europe is done waiting. So where does that leave Zelensky? Ukraine. Well, he seems more isolated than ever. He accepted Putin's offer for direct talks, hoping to meet one-on-one and push for a 30-day ceasefire. But instead of getting the showdown he expected, he's sitting in a room full of second stringers while Trump and Putin keeps the real power play behind the closed doors, behind the curtain. It is a bit like showing up to a chess match and realizing your opponent did not even bother to bring their queen. And now people are starting to ask, is Zelensky losing the plot in this whole conflict? After all, Trump has rejected multiple ceasefire proposals that even gave Russia major wins. He also suspended US military aid to Ukraine and echoed Russian talking points, even calling Zelensky an quote-unquote unelected dictator and blaming Ukraine for starting this whole war. All this while continuing to support Putin, supporting Russia, even though Putin hasn't followed through on anything that Trump has proposed. Early this week, Zelensky looked like he had Putin cornered. If Putin comes to talks, he will be admitting Ukraine was a real country and with a real president, President Zelensky. If he did not, he would look weak. But with Trump stepping in and backing Putin and pressurizing, this whole pressure has vanished. And once again, Zelensky is left talking to empty chairs. So here are we. The talking is happening, but expectations are low. No leader, no ceasefire, no breakthrough. It is hard not to ask, are these talks just for the show's sake? Is peace even on the table anymore? Or is this just another chapter in a story with no clear ending at all? One thing is for sure, you cannot make peace if people holding actual power refuse to sit on the table. Imagine this, in a game of Monopoly, the king is buying hotels, collecting rent and getting richer every turn, while the richest players quietly pack up their tokens and leave the board. That is UK's story today. In the latest Sunday Times Rich List, King Charles has seen his wealth grow by £30 million in just 1 year, bringing his total fortune to £640 million. That's same as former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and his wife Akshita Murthy. The king jumped 20 places on the rich list and he is now even richer than his late mother Queen Elizabeth. So where did this all money come from? That is the question. Well, when the Queen passed away, King Charles inherited a huge investment portfolio. But guess what? He did not have to pay any inheritance tax on it. That's right. While regular folks pay 40% tax on large inheritances, the king got a special exemption. After all, he is a king. On top of that, he earns millions and millions from something called the Duchy of Lancaster, a private estate with land across the whole England. It makes over £20 million a year in just profit. So while the king is stacking up the cash, what are the billionaires doing? They're simply leaving. According to the same rich list that we're talking about, the UK now has fewer billionaires than ever before in the history of this list. In just 2024, over 11,000 millionaires left London. That's the second highest number of rich people leaving any city in the world. Only Moscow lost more. And the question is why? Let's start with taxes. The UK government is ending something called the non-dom tax status. For years, this allowed rich people from abroad to live in the UK but not pay tax on their foreign income as long as they keep it outside the country. But now that particular loophole is closing. The new rules mean all income, wherever it is made, will be taxed if you live in the UK. Steel tycoon Lakshmi Mittal, worth billions, is already planning to leave the UK before the new rules kick in next April. He might move to Dubai, Switzerland, or even Italy, places with lighter taxes and indeed more sunshine. But taxes aren't the only reason why people are leaving. There is also Brexit in the whole equation. Remember that? The UK's exit from the European Union made London less attractive as a business hub. And the economy? Well, it's still recovering from 2008 financial crash and the more recent COVID-19 hit and definitely Trump tariffs. And in a failing British pound, and it's no longer paradise it once was for the wealthy. London used to be in the top 5 richest cities in the world, not anymore. It's been pushed out, overtaken by Los Angeles, LA. The UK capital has lost about 12% of its millionaire over last 10 years, over a single decade. Right now, cities in Asia and the US are leading the race. Just look at these numbers. New York is still the global capital of millionaires, home to nearly 400,000. San Francisco saw a 98% increase in its millionaire population over the last decade. Singapore isn't far behind with a 62% jump. So while cities like New York, Dubai, Singapore are welcoming rich people with open arms, London seems to be waving them goodbye. And as the rich leaves, the king rises. So the big question is, here comes the big question. Are higher taxes and fairer rules failing to create a more balanced system in the UK? Or are they just chasing away the people who invest, create jobs, and grow businesses, grow economy? I think this is the high time that policy makers think on this particular front. And that's all I have for you on the show tonight, dear viewers. Now we will meet on Monday. Until then, take care and good night.